Very pleased now to be joined by the one, the only, the internationally famous. I think he actually came from the like space station that Xeon or Zion, whatever her name was, Girl of the 21st Century. Xenon. I don't remember exactly the Disney Channel original movie. It is from Pride of Detroit. One, I'll say just the best leg of the podcast. I'm so jealous of them that they get to call it that over our Detroit Lions site here at SB Nation. It is Chris Perfett on Twitter at Chris Perfett. Joins us to, of course, preview the Cowboys-Lions game. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Do you know the name of the Disney Channel original movie I'm talking about?
I don't. I thought at first you were talking about Mobile Suit Gundam, so I thought I was running into an old school weeaboo, and I was very happy for a second. Thought we were going to start talking about giant mechs stomping around. And
well, Zaku's. I know right before we started recording, I wanted to see your most recent tweet, and I actually was very upset because it was about the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's a tough time around here. All right, there's no need for that. And I actually was really upset. I saw the Eagles I don't know if you have more information on this, but they're creating some sort of Christmas album, right? That Jason Kelsey's a part of.
I have no more information than that. I work at Fox Sports Radio on the weekend with a guy from Philadelphia, Anthony Gargano. So I'll probably ask him about that, but I fully expect that to enter our NFL canon along with the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Right.
I think the Broncos made an album back in the day, too. I know there was... Or was it? No, it was the Rams. It was the Rams in their first stint in Los Angeles made a ram it. You can ram it all day and ram it all night.
Right.
We're back to those days of NFL teams dancing very awkwardly along with cheerleaders on music videos. I'm very excited for this.
Well, and Troy Aikman, very, very famously, some would say infamously, had like a single song, like a single, part of an album. I don't know that he had an entire
Was it
album.
about how much he's sarcastically talking about analytics?
A little bit. It was called Oklahoma Nights. So I don't know that anybody's like seriously talking about Oklahoma Nights. Maybe there was like a lace of sarcasm involved there. But whatever. I do think the Eagles Christmas album thing is cool. I hate to admit that, but if you're a fan of that team, that's got to be like the sickest thing ever. That you just now.
Philadelphia is having a renaissance right now, which means probably someone, win or lose, is going to eat horse poop, and I think the rest of the country can take solace in that, knowing one way or another there's going to be fecal matter involved down the digestive tracts of someone who's screaming right now, "Go Birds!"
Right. That's a forgotten part of their Super Bowl run. That's honestly the most important element as far as I'm concerned. The Cowboys, of course, coming off of a loss to the Eagles in their most recent Super Bowl, which is, of course, their home game against the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles had their way with your Detroit Lions a few weeks ago. The Lions, I have some thoughts and some questions, which is, literally the point of this conversation. But the Cowboys and Lions getting set to square off on Sunday afternoon. It is the first time this season, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Lions have been a part of a number one broadcast group. You got Nance Romo and Tracy Wolfson. So big stage for the Detroit Lions. Welcome, not to primetime, but welcome, to the way the better half lives.
We get that around Thanksgiving every year. We just every now and then we get the people on Thanksgiving who have to bellyache about why the Lions are on Thanksgiving, and I get to give those people the double bird every time. Like that day belongs to us and to you, as I'm sure you're aware. But yeah, no, this season's actually been interesting for the Lions in that regard. The only team that is basically on a 1 p.m. window every week. Like every week, no prime time, no late game, as you say, no. They don't get Thursday Night Football because of that Thanksgiving game. That you would have thought something would have come off of Hard Knocks, but no. The schedule makers insisted we need more Denver Broncos. We need more Denver Broncos. We need more Washington Commanders. We need more. Who else is it on
Chicago
there?
Bears.
The Chicago Bears.
Right.
We need all those teams. We need those up there so you can watch Russ cook a grease fire. But no, I'm sure that the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff won't entice people. Granted, I think that stock has plummeted to less than the price of probably the fifth performing cryptocurrency right now. It's in the dirt. It's in the dirt. The stock for the Detroit Lions peaked with Dan Campbell talking about beating your ass in the shallows or in the deep end, and it's just gone way downhill from there.
So I don't want to get lost in the weeds on Dan Campbell. I think he's a great story. Former Cowboy, obviously, so like natural bit of love from me there.
He made a commercial for you guys where he look this up. He punches a horse. It was a season ticket commercial. These Cowboys are bucking a Bronco, and Dan Campbell goes in and tackles it.
like at this point, I'm a little over the show. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned, Hard Knocks, like it's wearing a little bit thin on me. Maybe
It always does. Hard Knocks has like a limited lifespan. Yeah,
but it's not just the Hard Knocks bump. Like I pride myself on not being somebody who gets swept up in that. Right? Like there's those people annual. Like last year was actually the Cow. So this is the Thanksgiving game and the like most recent Hard Knocks teams game. And I'm never somebody that's like, I never was in on like the Falcons or the Texans when they were, or the Browns or the Chargers or the Rams when they were on Hard Knocks. But the Dan Campbell bit in general, I think Dan Campbell is much more intelligent than he lets on. And I think that Dan Campbell gets more credit for losing than I feel like like Mike McCarthy does for winning games. And like, where's the rebuild? Like, when's it happening? You know, like, and I get we're still early on here, and I'm not trying to, bring you in and take shots right away because there are a lot of elements of this Lions team I like, but I don't like that they got, skunked. They got blanked by the Patriots last time we saw them. Like, is that the team that's walking into AT&T Stadium on Sunday?
I have no clue. I wish I could tell you I had a clue because the problem is the week prior they put up like an NFL high 45 points, but then lost also 48 to the Seattle Seahawks. So which is the Lions team? After 5 games, I really don't know. Like that, and that was the problem with last year too. Is I really don't know what I'm getting each week, other than I expect them for the most part to fight hard. They didn't get to fight hard last week against 2 weeks ago, against the Patriots, but that was also true of the Philadelphia Eagles last year too, and then they turn around and are able to keep clawing and fighting and biting and covering the spread for Vegas purposes. I wish I knew, and I think that's what's made this year at least so fascinating, so riveting to me under Dan Campbell, who is... You call it a bit, but that's genuinely who he is sometimes. He is smart. He is, yeah. But like, I just from being around him, like he gets the sound bites that make him seem silly, but at the same time, like I catch him on the post game shows. He's always holding everything on him. He talks like a former player. He acts like a former player, and it's down in his bones. The man is letting you know who it is. That doesn't mean he's going to be a good coach, but he's had this theory about like if I put former players in coaching positions like me, that it will bring something different to the table and the team will keep fighting. That needs to turn into wins at some point, but right now it's year 2 of what's supposed to be a rebuild. Lions fans haven't really seen a rebuild since the aughts. They've had bad years, trust me. No, they've had bad years, but it never really hit reset while Matthew Stafford was the quarterback. So I guess I'm still feeling it out, and Lions fans are starting to get a little jealous of teams like the Giants and the Jets, who seem to be back on track, but also kind of went through a lot more instability to get there in the first place, and at least had some pieces there, whereas Matt Patricia just bombed the place out. So it's difficult to suss out, but for me as someone who watches football, who watches the team, and has to get on a podcast and yell about it and try to take some giggles out of my life and try not to get too emotional, I at least appreciate that they're at least a sideshow every week. And I appreciate the Patricia years were bad because the Patricia years were just boring. They were boring bad. They were bad at everything. Dan Campbell's teams might be bad right now, but they're bad in really insane, interesting ways that just like, did they really just do that? They went for it on 4th down again here? Okay. They don't trust the kicker enough? Okay, I guess. But wow, they're looking at a lot of points, and oh no, Jared Goff looks like 2020 Jared Goff again. Like, you get something new every time, and that drives fans insane. For me, who's already an insane fan, I'm content to try to figure out what exactly is going on.
I agree with that entire premise, to be very clear. I would much rather be a fan of this year's Lions than this year's Broncos, right? Like, just if you're going to be bad, be spectacularly bad, right? Like, be entertaining, give us, cover the spread, whatever. Like, just don't be boring. Boring is the worst possible way to be. You mentioned 2020, the 2020 Cowboys after Dak Prescott got hurt. They were a little bit cute down the stretch, and the division was so bad, which is what kind of like breathed life into the lunacy of it all. But okay, so you have no idea what to expect. Let's try to is DeAndre Swift going to play? Let's try to figure out what to expect.
Well, apparently the injury report's out, and it looks like the old joke is the Lions lose to the bye week. I don't want to do that, but they've got, by my count, over a dozen players on the Wednesday injury report. DeAndre Swift limited. I feel bad because I know you want a prediction. Last time I was on a podcast, it was with the Seattle guys, and I said, yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is trending towards playing. So I want to be careful about opening my mouth and cursing him. But let me go to a different point on that. They need DeAndre Swift to play. They need that ground game to play. Jamal Williams has performed well in the games where he's asked to perform well, but he has limited tricks. He is a bowling ball. You let him go through, and if he hits the end zone, he will do a Ginyu squad pose because he's a weeb, and I love him. I've interviewed him twice. He asked me what Harry Potter house I am. But
which one is it?
I just told him I'm a Hufflepuff. I'm a normal person. I don't believe in having special powers. That's for people with way too much ego.
Right.
But DeAndre Swift gives you different levels. The man hits explosive plays on the regular against pretty much, like he was doing it against the Eagles too, who were learning that the Eagles are really, really, really good. That's kind of been the lesson of this first 5 games for the Detroit Lions, is everyone thought this was a really easy schedule, and updated strength of schedule shows that it's really not for them. But DeAndre Swift can hit the sides. He has been coached very well by Deuce Staley. He's learned to stay in bounds, keep pushing for the extra few yards, and it's given something the Lions really haven't had for as long as I've watched the team, which is a run game. And against Dallas,
the Mikel LaShore disrespect, Chris.
I will disrespect Mikel LaShore. Thank you very much. But especially with the pass rush I know that the Dallas defense possesses, they do need to keep them honest, and the only way they're going to do that is with a competent ground game, and the only way you're going to get the competent, good ground game is having DeAndre Swift play and play healthy. So I think the question is, will I see DeAndre Swift? I don't know. The question of whether that I think they need DeAndre Swift, absolutely yes. Yes, yes, yes. They need DeAndre Swift, and they need a healthy offensive line.
I will say that's kind of the Achilles heel of this Cowboys defense. I mean, it's not like I feel like we misuse that term a lot. Like an Achilles heel is like a small, like somewhat concealed point of weakness. It's not like a massive, like on display thing.
Yeah,
you know
Achilles heel was the one part of the heel of Achilles that was not dipped into one of these. It wasn't the sticks. He would have died. It was some Greek river that made him invincible, except for the part of the heel that he was held up by, and he dies because he gets shot in the leg for that. I went to school. I went to a Catholic school. I had to know my classics. Yes. But yes. It's a big weakness, but instead it's just, we're using it wrong.
But it's like, it's a big weakness, but it's also like, it's not exactly the like part of a body you're aiming for, like in war with like a bow and arrow. You know what I'm saying? It's not Achilles.
It's also not unknown.
You know what I mean?
We've seen the Cowboys in 5 games. We know what they are on against the run. Yeah.
Right. So if DeAndre Swift plays, I'll be honest, I like the Cowboys odds to win here. I don't know if I'm, bullish enough to say they cover. I mean, 7-point line at the time of you and I recording, at least. Dak Prescott, looking like he's going to be back. That is still not a 100% certainty sort of thing. But presuming he is, I do like that idea a little bit more. So what else? What else is there to fear then? If DeAndre Swift isn't there, like is Jared? What is the game that Jared Goff has won for the Lions? And I feel like that's such an unfair question, but it's just the reality of who the team is right now.
Jared Goff is someone who has had the table set for him very well right now. And to be honest, in most of the games that have played so far, he's played well enough of what the Lions are asking of him. Because Jared Goff is Jared Goff. He's never going to be that elite quarterback that people hoped for, but he can still be a tier 2 quarterback, kind of like we saw when he was playing for the Rams in Pro Bowl caliber. Because look, that's all you really need in the NFL these days. Like, is he any better than Jimmy Garoppolo? Probably not. But people give a lot more credit to Jimmy Garoppolo because Jimmy Garoppolo wins games. But all Jimmy has to do is just make sure he's getting the ball out on time to the right people, hand the ball off every now and then, and play behind a really good offensive line. And that's what the Lions have tried to set up for Jared Goff. They've given him Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker on the tackles, Frank Ragnow under center, DeAndre Swift as your tailback. They've given him Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've given him Josh Reynolds, his old friend. They got DJ Shark. He hasn't really made a connection with him yet. They've given him all these great offensive weapons. They'll have another one when Jamison Williams finally becomes healthy and starts to play. So there's really no excuse for him at this point, but at the same time, the problem is that the Lions are dealing with a lot of injuries on offense, and when things aren't as perfect, Jared Goff starts to panic a little bit. He starts to, like what the Patriots did last week, was shades of Jared Goff I've seen before where, hey, here comes the pass rush, and whereas Jared Goff under, say, the Vikings game could see that pass rush a little bit off the tackles and step up and scramble, The Jared Goff I saw in the Patriots game was getting blindsided, and his only option when he gets blindsided is to back up 10 yards and then get sacked, making the sack worse than it needs to be. It's something. Jared Goff's not going to throw a ton of interceptions. He's had some bad ones lately, but he's going to be the game man. Like, it's the new version of game manager. Nobody wants to say game manager anymore, but that's what Jared Goff is. He manages it well. He makes high completion percentage passes. He gets a deep ball out every now and then to Josh Reynolds or Shark, and he gets T.J. Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift moving in a pass game as well. Like, this isn't hard for Jared Goff. It's just that when that line breaks down, Jared Goff shows a lot more weaknesses where he can be vulnerable. And we go back and forth. I've gone back and forth with this with Lions fans who have gotten very upset that I called out Jared Goff's mistakes in games even where the Lions were playing well, like the Commanders game or the Vikings game. And I'm just like, no, like, listen, I know he's not the number one problem. The defense is the big problem for the Detroit Lions. The defense can't stop a cold right now, but at some point this is going to bite them in the ass, and that's what happened in the Patriots game. It bit them in the ass. So Jared Goff can be a problem, especially when he's playing a very good pass rush, and that's something I really worry about going into the Dallas game, is that if Penei Sewell can't pick up someone like, say, Micah Parsons, or Taylor Decker can't pick up Micah Parsons, it's going to be a long day for him.
While you were speaking, Chris, again, just important context, I think, for you to know, and certainly the coverage you guys provided prior to Detroit. Dak Prescott was just cleared medically, literally this moment.
Okay. What? No loyalty to the great Cooper Rush and everything he's done so far. I see how it is.
I think that's obviously a big time deal, because to your point, I mean, this is maybe the most stout pass rush, stout defense that Jared Goff and the Lions will have played all season, and they're obviously dealing with injuries, like you said. They may not have what might be the offense's best player in DeAndre Swift, and all of that is all the more difficult if the other offense is scoring points, which was a problem against the Eagles, as an example, obviously. So what is that news? Me telling you this obviously is unique that it happened while we were recording. Is that, I mean, I don't know that you thought the Lions were going to win or what you thought that they could cover, anything like that, but does that change your approach to this game at all, your thought process on how it could go for Detroit?
I try not to give predictions on games itself. Every time Pride to Detroit asks me for prediction, I tell them I expect a tie. So I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going to happen in this game. I do like them to cover the spread just because the Lions tend to cover the spread a lot, and I'm just playing the numbers here. But at the same time, I don't know what I should expect out of having Dak Prescott back, because Cooper Rush, while he's been fantastic, is not someone I really felt threatened by in the passing game. And where the Lions are weakest right now is their coverage. It's their secondary. They've had a lot of injuries there. They've lost Tracy Walker for the season. Amani Oruwariye hasn't become the guy they've wanted. Jeff Okudah, who has played very well, but he's still coming back this year from an Achilles. He's covered some of the primest of prime wide receivers out there and done very well, but this is just not a defense you can ask to stand on their head. They get no linebacker help whatsoever in any phase of the game. Aiden Hutchinson is playing, I think, very well, but he's also playing very unpolished, and they don't really get a lot. He's a rookie, and he's not getting a lot of help from, like, I'll see, he's not getting a lot of help from the other side of the line, and sometimes the defensive tackles aren't coming in to help clean up, and other times he's just overshooting. So the execution needs work for the Detroit Lions pass rush, but that pass rush is ultimately meaningless if the secondary can't do anything. It's almost the opposite problem of what the Lions used to have under Jim Caldwell or under early Matt Patricia. Was you had guys like Darius Slay who could, and Glover Quinn, who could lock down the entire pass game, but it doesn't matter if you don't have anyone to push the pocket. So I will say, it's kind of moved the opposite way. So I think that actually I think the fact that Dak can probably throw the ball a little bit better than Cooper Rush probably helps out because the Lions like stopping the run, but passing game has been killing them all year.
I will say I have a couple of quick ones, but it's fascinating how much turnover has happened within the Detroit secondary just in the last decade. I mean, you would know better than I, but that 2014 wild card matchup between the Cowboys and Lions, obviously much better memory for me than you. That was an incredible defense. The podcast audience can't see you, Chris, thankfully, but that was an incredible defensive front. And some of that was Tony Romo wasn't exactly supremely mobile at that point in his career. But I mean, that front with Sue was so good that a little bit of an underrated part in NFL history. I know the Lions don't get any kind of love like that, but that was a really great time. You mentioned Aiden Hutchinson. I interviewed him on the SB Nation NFL show ahead of the draft. And I'm going to ask you what I asked him, and then I'll tell you what he said. I asked him what his favorite condiment was, because he's been getting all this like football stuff. So I was trying to, lighten the mood a little bit. What is your favorite condiment?
Oh God. Can I say Thousand Island dressing?
You can.
I really enjoy Thousand. I was going to say that. I mean, I guess that's not really much of a condiment. That's more of like a topping for a sandwich. I'll just go with mayonnaise. I like mayonnaise. I like the regular ordinary Swedish mealtime show that used to be back in the day, where there's a bearded barbarian just eats a spoonful of mayonnaise and growls, "It's good for you." Mayonnaise is fine. Everyone hates mayonnaise, but mayonnaise makes the backbone of so many things.
Well, I'm not saying you're out on Aiden Hutchinson or anything, but what would trouble you? What answer that he gave would make you be like, you know what, maybe I need to take a step back and reevaluate?
Listen, I'm living in the age after watching, speaking of mayonnaise, I watched a quarterback for Kentucky, Will Levis, put mayonnaise in his coffee. There is nothing you can say. I drink half and half Coca-Cola and cold brew coffee. I don't think you can gross me out on this. Okay. Hit me.
Well, I didn't mean like gross, but like mundane maybe. What would be like boring that Aiden Hutchinson said? He said ketchup.
Our big straight chalk. I was going to say, but like Patrick Mahomes, the biggest star in the NFL right now, his entire personality is selling ketchup right now. Like,
that's a good point.
Like, I'm not going to throw out on that. If you like ketchup, you like ketchup. I like my fries with the European mayonnaise aioli. I really like the Japanese mayonnaise too. The Kewpie, do what you want. I grew up as an anarchist. I am all about letting people do what they so please.
This took a turn. Okay. So my last one, as we kind of tie a bow here, you've given us a lot of great intel on the Lions. I already brought up the 2014 wildcard round, so I've already crossed the line. Might as well just say his name.
Please don't.
Anthony Hitchens. You know what I mean? So that being said, I think we all kind of think the Cowboys are going to win this game, and I say that with all due respect. Love the podcast. Love Pride of Detroit in general. Jeremy Reisman rules. But this is a big, I think you can help Cowboys fans apply some pre-context, because everyone's looking and saying, well, if Dak lights up the Lions defense, like the Lions suck, the Lions are getting burned by everybody, blah, blah. Like, can you contextualize for us what that looks like? Because we saw Dak Prescott, obviously, not even for the entire season opener. He was a little bit suspect over the second half of last season. So this is kind of a reintroduction, so to speak, for Dak Prescott and Cowboys fans. So can you help us identify what would be impressive, what would be maybe, fool's gold, so to speak, with a performance on Sunday?
That's again, I wish I could. I really don't know what he could really do to really let me know that he's really back right now. It's a good warm-up game, and ultimately the Lions made Geno Smith look really good too, which, I mean, maybe
he might be really good.
I don't know. Like, this entire season is so this entire season is just driving me insane right now. But that's why I'm not holding any cards about Dak Prescott. He could throw for 300 yards, and I'm like, yeah, maybe he should do that. Maybe
so that wouldn't impress you then, based on the context of who the Lions have been. That's obviously the question.
Sorry. I am Shania Twain right now. I'm Shania Twain right now. That don't impress me much. I've seen the depths to which this Lions team can go, and I will not. I am a stone right now. I think if he did throw for 300 yards, I think that most of our fans will be screaming out the ears. But I think also a lot of fans are starting to tune over to the next stage of Detroit sports hope, which is the Red Wings, which will dash those hopes. They will dash those hopes by Halloween. I am tired of this carousel of hope that Detroit sports fans have tried to throw themselves
Pistons
on
look
after.
Good.
They're young. They're very young, and already I think some fans want them to tank again for Wembanyama. So and I'm a Tigers fan, and I'm not.
Hey,
going
Justin
to get
Verlander's pitching tonight. At least you can revel in that the way you did Matthew Stafford in the Super Bowl.
I can't, because I live in Los Angeles, and these Dodgers fans will kill me if I talk good about any Astro for any reason whatsoever. regardless of my history with it.
Wow.
Once they're done and they're especially dangerous now that they've been kicked out of the playoffs too by little brother in San Diego. Like they are just all constantly insane. So the Lions have a long road ahead of them. I don't even know if it's going to be successful. The longer this goes on, the more I wonder if maybe Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, the general manager, aren't the ones who are going to bring the Lions back to relevance, but will be the ones who set the stones in place, but then unfairly kind of get kicked to the curb, which is what's happened Joe Judge was an awful coach in New York, but those aren't Brian Dable's players that they're winning with.
Right. You could, I think, maybe the Vikings are like a good example of what you're talking about.
Sometimes
oversaw a great team.
The thing with Dan Campbell too is a lot of this stuff falls upon other coordinators as well. Like, I think Lions fans have soured on this idea of Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, being great. He did a lot of cool things last year, but it's way too aggressive right now, especially on the zero blitzes. And Ben Johnson might be a tactical genius, and he might be the next guy who gets poached way too early by the Carolina Panthers or something. But I've only seen part of a season out of him, and I'm not going to cry about it. So I don't know. Like, I think it's still a year and a half of Dan Campbell. I will wait for my prognostications. I know that doesn't make me a good person sometimes in the case of sports media, but good Lord, like I the more this goes on, the more I wonder that it's like, because I see what they're building. I see the pieces around here. Other than the players they draft, like Levi Onwuzurike, who comes in very busted up. Brad Holmes has a nasty habit of getting injured players. But it's going to be someone else who comes in after this at some point and just changes things around a little bit, and suddenly maybe that's what helps the Lions get the spark. Or maybe it won't, and I'll still be watching the same team I've always watched.
I mean, kind of, this is not a great example this week, but, your neck of the woods, sort of what we thought Brandon Staley was. Like, just, come in, take advantage, party, move on. Again, not the week to be throwing flowers at Brandon Staley specifically, but Chris Perfett from Pride of Detroit. Again, like, it's not fair that you guys get to call yourselves the podcast. All right,
PODcast.
I don't care. Like, the way you write it is not fair. Like, it's stupid. It's not fair to the rest of us at SB Nation because our name doesn't work that way.
It is a very stupid podcast. It is a very stupid podcast. So it fits that we have been doing this for 7 years now, and it's been more lows than highs. I enjoyed 2016 a lot, but we got a bunch of people to sing Africa by Toto in bars all over the country. Thank you, Detroit Lions fans. But yeah, no, one of the cool, dumb things I've done, and honestly, it probably hurts our SEO too. You hate it because it's working, but I think on the other hand, I'm like, that is just called the podcast probably doesn't help my top line either.
I'm just saying it's a cool thing, and I'm jealous of it. Also jealous, if anybody is a Twitch user, check out Pride of Detroit. They are the goats of Twitch here at SB Nation.
By the way, I do want to throw this out here, if I may plug one thing about the Twitch.
Plug away.
We do a very big Movember charity drive. Last year, I think we raised, it was like, I don't have the numbers up anymore. I used to have it pinned. I think we raised over like $12,000 for two different charities in the month of November last year. We are still getting our charity together for this year, but we bring on a lot of guests. We bring on a lot of general NFL people too, as well as Lions stuff. We raise a lot of money. We make Jeremy grow an awful mustache and then dye it Honolulu blue. And they make me drink things that puts my body into some sort of shock for a week. So by all means, please stop by. We have a lot of fun on the Twitch, Madden Sims and everything, but Movember is where we start to raise a lot of money for very good causes. And I urge everyone, if you can, I hope we can grow it into more than just Lions fans doing this, because it's something we've really prided ourselves in. And I think this Movember, again, we don't have the charity in mind yet, but we have the topic in mind that we want to donate to, and it means a lot to us.
That's awesome. Everybody go check out Pride of Detroit on Twitch. Seriously, I mean it when I say it. Nobody at SB Nation works Twitch the way they do. And I actually was going to tell Jeremy he couldn't make it. You were choice number one, obviously, Chris.
Of course.
So, Jeremy couldn't make it when I was just exploring secondary options. But I was going to tell him the people watching on our YouTube channel will know our Madden Sim series is very popular around here. People get all sorts of upset. A complete and total ripoff of Pride of Detroit. And actually, I consulted with Jeremy ahead of doing it. Got some tips and advice. So if anybody around here does like the Madden Sims, you have Pride of Detroit to thank for it.
Yeah, listen, we understand that the world is tracing paper, and we are the original, the Picasso over here. So by all means, trace away.
Chris, enjoy the game on Sunday as best you can.
Is that a threat?
I don't know. I really look. Believe me, I'm in my own place of wondering what to expect from my team. But this is the Thanksgiving game, the last two teams on Hard Knocks games, the silver and blue helmet game. By the way, bring back the old one. I miss the black and white stripes on the side. It was so much better. I don't hate the uniforms. We don't need
Lions
the WCF,
fans feel very strong about black. They feel very strong about black.
I miss the
on
black
anything.
uniforms. They were so.
No, I like
great.
them too. I like them too. But Lions fans think I'm the Antichrist for saying that. They associate that black with the Matt Millen years, and I'm going to get crucified because I just said his name.
I mean, the Lions uniforms are so great. The ones that they want, like the throwback Thanksgiving ones. I know that they're plain and look very high schooly, but still, like the simplicity of them rocks. I need that helmet with the black face mask. I don't like the current helmet. The stripe looks weird. It looks like it needs to be filled in. So not a fan of that specifically. Yeah. Other than that, the 313, hey, you know what I mean? Good deal. Motor City, right. Pistons, all that stuff. Chris on Twitter at Chris Perfett. Anything else you want to say before we leave?
I am in pain all the time thinking about that 2014 playoff game, and deep down you shouldn't have won it either. Again, you a-holes. I'm going to find the proof. I don't get mad about anything with the Lions. I don't get mad when they lose, but that game is seared. That game in the 2013 ALCS against the Red Sox is seared into my brain. I will have vengeance one way or another.
It was a good flag pickup. Yeah, really good one. So,
no, it wasn't, and I'm going to flip you the double bird again because I just realized this isn't a visual medium.
It is. This is on YouTube as well.
Oh, this is? Okay, good. To all you people out there. Also, by the way, Cowboys fans, I work on the Ben Maller show now and then. Stop calling into him and showing your asses. I see you people.
Chris Perfett, ladies and gentlemen, the author of the take that the 2014 wildcard round went as it always should have. Thanks, Chris.